I believe that 5 million people can't be wrong, and when 5 million Americans voted for the right to choose a non-toxic herb created by God, that those 5 million people would be respected. And so I continued to work in my little office, and I got stronger and stronger and healthier. No account to the radiation or the chemo or any of the stuff they did. Always it had to do with my relationship with God and my relationship with marijuana that was facilitated by, I can't explain it exactly, but in a way, God allows through this plant you to open your mind and go places that you would otherwise not go. And because I was dying, we were in a bunch of fights, God and I were, about the fact that my mother had died when I was 10, and she had died of breast cancer, and I could not tolerate, my oldest child was 10, and I just could not tolerate the idea that I was going to die of breast cancer. And so anyway, through this whole process, as I got stronger and as God rejuvenated me, I became what they typed a problem prescriber, because I devoted my entire life to protecting the Social Security people, the victims of this social injustice. I figured they left me and my husband alone because we were highly verbal and extremely capable of defending ourselves, and made them go away. But if you were just a human being in a normal situation, how would you ever defend yourself? And if you're dying, or have cancer, or have hepatitis, or have any other disease, how would you ever defend yourself? And so I took an oath to, above all, to no harm, and I could see no way in which being threatened with a lawsuit, or being threatened with going to jail, or being put in jail, or going through a whole trial was in any way doing no harm. And so despite the fact that I was weak and sick, I felt compelled to get into this business. They now, of course, are denying that they ever suggested such an awful thing that I should write notes, but they did, and they did it in front of witnesses, several witnesses. But anyway, that's all for the trial. And so even though I was still undergoing the effects of chemotherapy, and I was bald, or my hair was like a quarter of an inch long, and I had 3 little kids at home, I started to see patients, and initially I could only see 2 to 3 patients a day without being totally exhausted, but it was worth it to me. And the business grew, and I've now been in business almost 8 years, and so obviously whatever I've done wrong can't be that wrong, because otherwise it would have put me out of business. And what ended up happening, of course, was that it was a lie, that they never intended the medical marijuana issue to pass, and they certainly never intended it to work. And I didn't understand that, because I believe in the American way. And like I said, even though we were always on the forefront of knowledge, and we were always the kinds of people who took risks or took chances to better the human condition, I had never been faced with the legal system making me a criminal for trying to help human beings.
So are you charged with distributing?
No,
your
I
husband
never
charged
did
with
that.
distributing?
I never did that, and we're
are you
charged with a conspiracy to manufacture a marijuana plant. And I laughed out loud in court. I couldn't help it. I felt really bad, and I tried to cover my face. But now they think I'm God, and I felt like saying, okay, so for my next trick, I'll make a butterfly. You know, and I'm also charged, I have 2 counts. The second count is a conspiracy to manufacture greater than 100 plants, which gives the federals the right to you know. Anyway, so then for 4 years they left us in limbo after the raid and ruining our lives and putting us in terror and destroying my children. I mean, really, I mean, I had a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and I mean, they really upset them. And anyway, when the raid's decision came down, they came in and within 30 days arrested me. Because they felt that they had the right to arrest me. And despite the fact that we had an agreement with the lawyers, I'm a professional, my husband's a professional, we will come to the federal courthouse, we will voluntarily submit, they chose to pull me over in my van with my little girl in the van going to Girl Scouts and arrest me in front of my children, and handcuff me and everything else. But because of what they did to me, which I consider excessive violence, they handcuffed me. I told them, you cannot restrain this arm. I've had a lymph node dissection, and this arm is extremely delicate, and you cannot do this to me. But they did it anyway, and 6.5 hours later, I have huge amounts of fluid, probably 1.5 cups of fluid under my arm, and I now live with chronic pain and a lot of other issues that were not present previous to their having abused me. But that was in June of '05, and it took 6.5 hours for them to process me. Don't ask me why. My husband also has hemophilia and is a patient and is extremely sick and suffers from chronic pain. And we had not revealed that to them just because it was none of their business. But when they raided us, they took all our private and confidential psychiatric and medical records. So they knew they were dealing with 2 extremely sick individuals. And they also knew if they'd done any intelligence, which is an oxymoron, on us, that I had been taking in homeless children, and I had been taking in battered women, and I had become a shelter because during the 13 years that I wasn't practicing medicine, I was practicing love, which to me was medicine. And so our house, I was blessed with a large house, and our house had become a respite for those who could not survive on the outside. And the police, I was well known in the local area as a respite. And so this whole thing was just such an ironic bunch of crap, because here I am, a doctor who's volunteering their time, their money, their energy, and taking people off the streets and preventing disasters. And yet now I was being charged, actually because of one of the people I had rescued. They turned me in, and this is a part of a deal.
So for medical marijuana, how many recommendations were you giving? How many patients did you recommend?
Oh my God, I hit it with a vengeance. Because see, to me, I was told to do no harm. And the only reason why I tell you can take Vicodin 2 every 4 hours is because 4 every 4 hours would hurt your liver. And with this do no harm thing, the whole basis of my medical education was to balance the harm of the pharmaceuticals with the health of the patient.